Okay, now that you've played your game and made your pictures, you have to go back into Paint so we can finish them up. Go up to this little upper left-hand side square, blue square. You can pull up your pictures a couple of different ways. If you've just made them recently, as you can see, I have all of my sample pictures here. There's 4. You can click on that one. It'll pull it right up. If it's been a while or you've had more than those 4 or 5 pics, then you need to go in to your files. That open up the files, and you just write in the name. And I did it wrong because I didn't have a space. So we pull up our sample pic A. Now, the first thing you need to do is crop off this excess space. You want to make sure you have the top of your screen showing. You also want to leave a little bit of the side part, like the tree, or it may be a pole, something of that sort. For those people who don't have the Precision Charm and bank, it will show them where they need to bank. If you don't know, if you don't have the Precision Charm and you use banking, you can also put a little dot or line or X or whatever it is you want to show them where it is they need to bank to knock out a certain area or certain bubbles. Now, most of the time when you come in to your paint program, the select is already highlighted. But when it isn't, just click on it so it's yellow. It's already set in the crop mode. And we just, I like to have this right at the top, we just crop out what we need, basically. Making sure there's just a little bit of that side left. As such. And go up to the top and click crop. The next thing we need to do is label our picture. The A is for your text. You then click down here. I normally use a 36 font. I'll do that again because I had done a smaller one before. And I use the Times New Roman text. Your first color is the color you want to choose for your labeling. I usually use a white or a yellow depending on my background. If it's a dark background, those are the colors I like to use. If you're using a really light background, you might find something like black or green will work best. It's basically, you can experiment with it and see what works out best for you. So in this particular case, we're on the witch's side, so it will be level 55A. That's our picture. Click outside and you have your mark. If this should happen to be an Eternal Isle picture, I'll give you another clue here. We would label it, let's say we just had Eternal Isles 32 released. 32, and that would be, let's say, level 1, and that would be pick 1. And that's how you would label your Eternal Isles. Now if you do make a mistake and you want to remove it, go up here where it says undo, this little blue arrow, and click it out. That'll take it. Remove what it is that you want to get rid of. Now if you want to mark your obstacles, or if you decide if you need to mark all of your obstacles or some of them or whatever, do them all in the same color, be consistent, use the color guide at the top of this dock so that everyone who's making a level guide is using the exact same colors. For me, I like to use red. Now, we have an assortment of different shapes you can use. We need a straight line to do our straight lines, of course. There is circles, rectangles, there's arrows. You can do all sorts of things in your labeling of your obstacles, or whether or not something needs to be dropped or avoided. I like to use, as I said, red for my dooms. We're going to just do this quickly. The key is to keep your line straight. The other thing too, which we'll get into probably in the other video, is you don't want it to be too busy. I'm going to circle these. I could also put them, actually I can't put them in a triangle. I don't have an upside down triangle. But I could certainly draw a triangle around them, or I could just make a circle around them, which takes a whole lot less time. Your preference, whatever works best for you. That gives you an idea. Okay, and you just click and that's done. Now, this picture is too big to put into your guide, so we need to resize it. So go to your resize, and we use pixels. So click on pixels. You do not want your picture to be any wider than 500 pixels. Click on that, and your picture is reduced. Go over here to your little purple box again and save. If you forget to save it, when you go to close it out, a pop-up will appear that will ask you if you want to save or not save the changes. Now we can go right back up into here and pull out our next picture. I'm not going to do my open up files because I got everything up here, and I want to go right into the next. And we just keep repeating. Now up here we have new obstacles. We have infection bubbles. We don't need to mark the doom bubbles again. We already know what doom bubbles look like, and they've already seen that obstacle in the first. So I wouldn't personally go into marking those. But what you want to do is entirely up to you. We just want a nice, clean, crisp picture. There we go. We've got the outsides there. Now this one, of course, would be text. I think we did the last one in white. And this would be level 55B. And because we have doom bubbles here, infection bubbles, you always have to redo your lines. You can also change the thickness of your lines too, which I can show you when we get into if you need to mark something after it's been reduced or whatever. Now I'm not going to mark this whole thing. Now what I could do is go this way and show that it extends there, but they'll get the general idea. I'll just go kind of between there, and I'll mark this one. And then you mention to them that they have infection bubbles in your strategies when you do your strategies. Also make sure when you do that first picture that you write out the layout of that picture where your obstacles are located, and then you go into your strategy on how to proceed along with the game. So now this one's pretty much done, and we resize that again to pixels. I'm going to go ahead and go through all of these because I want to show you basically how to do everything through one entire set. Does that make sense? I hope I made sense. Let's go up to our next one. That was B. Now we want to do C. Your last picture, I believe I mentioned in the last video, should always be your picture of the ceiling. As you see, we don't have that here. Sometimes you may also find that you've taken a lot of pictures and some of them are very similar and you don't need all of them. And that's fine. Take as many pictures as you need and decide what you want to use and not use in your guide. Okay, that looks good. Do our text. Always have to check your color up here. Each time you go in, it needs to be redone. See, I have a lot of gold spiders on the bottom, so I want them to see that I have gold spiders. That's important because the more colored spiders you have on the bottom, the higher your score. Okay, so this is this one. We don't need to mark anything else, unless, of course, let's say, you know you need to drop this infection bubble. You can go in, and if you want to go back to your lines, just click on where it says brushes. You can go in and actually draw a little line here. Not quite like that, but draw a little line there that shows that they need to drop that infection on the right. And you state that in your text. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that at all, but that's just another thing you can do. You can also write in here in a smaller text, drop, like right above here. I guess I should show you an example of that. I have to put my text box in first and then reduce the size. Let's go down to like a 20. This is really, we do this really small. The one I brought over here. And you can just write in there drop. And it's not high enough. So I think, see, we can't do it. We have to do it over again. I'll try one more time. It's too high. This is so much fun. I have to go with an 18. Just to give you an example. So you can change the sizes. You want to have it over the line here. But I don't want to have it below the line like I showed before. And if you don't get it right on the money, you have to mess around. Okay, let's try this one. That's pretty good. I'm just using it for an example anyways. So you can write that in there. How you do your level guides and mark them is entirely up to you. But you still need to give it all in your strategy. So now we need to resize this one. Excuse me. The 500, it's reduced. We save it. And now we go to our next picture. Now we see the ceiling. Now see, we may not have actually had to have that third picture because we're still seeing the same dooms, still seeing the same infection. As you can see, I used the antidote bubble, so you might not want to show that in your picture. Go up here and we crop this one. Very simple. And that one is now level. Now we have to change our font size too, because we shortened it before. So with repetition here, I'm hoping it shows you what it is we need to do. I believe this one's D. And we save that, resize it, pixels, 500. And now these are ready to upload into your file. I did want to show you one other thing. The only time, usually 3 is about the max we use. In a longer format, we do use 4 pictures. Sometimes, in rare occasions, that 4th or maybe even 5th picture is a close-up that we've done. And I'll just use this one, this particular picture for an example. You would go in here and let's just say we know we have to drop. We know we have to drop this particular infection. You only have one space to actually do that between the infection bubble and the doom bubble. So let's just draw that all out. This isn't going to work because it's a crop and you can't move it. You have to have it exactly where you want it. Okay, so that's what we're going to say. And we'll crop it. But when we have that picture, you go back up to your blue box and you click Save As. If you don't click Save As, you're going to lose your other picture and you'll just have this crop picture. So we're going to put here, you can just put 55 close-up or whatever you want. I put CU for close-ups, so that pretty much tells me what I'm doing. And it helps if you spell it wrong, you're never going to find it, which I just did. So that's our close-up. Now, you already see it's small. We don't need to resize this, but we need to mark it in some way. We can take a line. I'll use yellow because that's what we use for infection. And you can show and you can state as well in your text, there is only one space between the doom bubbles and the infection bubbles that you're able to use to drop them. And that's on both sides, so. The smaller pictures are just a little bit harder to work with. You want your lines as